The next past paper question under capacitors is from 2015, 25th MCQ. So let's go through it. An AR-filled parallel plate capacitor of plate separation D is fully charged using a battery of voltage V naught. Then the battery is removed and the space between the plates of the capacitor is filled with a material of dielectric constant K. Then the material is, the battery is removed. The battery is removed. If the energy stored in the capacitor when it is filled with air is mu naught and u naught, and the electric field intensity across the capacitor, the energy stored in the capacitor when it is filled with the dielectric material are E and U respectively, then the thing is this is what's happening. uh, Initially the capacitor is connected to a battery, okay, and it's fully charged. So let me draw the diagram. This is the battery, and it is directly connected to a capacitor like this, okay, right. And then it is fully charged, they're saying. So this battery is V naught. Therefore you have to, let's mark all the things across around this capacitor. Now we know across this capacitor there will be a voltage of V naught, and there will be a charge stored in the capacitor. We'll take it as Q naught, and the capacitance of this capacitor will take it as C naught. And what else? There will be energy stored U naught, and there will be electric field intensity across the capacitor E naught. Hope you can understand all these things. So I have marked five quantities around the capacitor. Okay, right. So these are the things. Hope you can understand. A capacitor connected to a battery. Let's write everything about this capacitor using these symbols. So what are the things I can write down, people? Q naught. Now Q naught can be written as Q naught equal to C naught V naught. First step. Why? Because charge is equal to capacitance and voltage. This is the definition. We have studied this. And what else? If the distance between the plates, it's given as D, I think. They haven't changed it. It is D. Right. And then the other one. After that, what can I say? C naught. For C naught itself, you can write another equation. What is that? A epsilon naught divided by D. I am taking epsilon naught because it's AR filled. So for AR, K is almost 1. So we can take epsilon naught. What else can we write? E naught is there. What is the equation for E naught? The magnitude. E naught is the electric field intensity. You can write it this way, no? V naught over D. Voltage divided by separation between the plates. And am I missing anything? No. I can use U naught. Now for U naught, you can write three equations. What are they? Half Q naught V naught, the energy stored. Half C naught V naught squared. Or what is the other one? The other one is come on, yeah. The other one is half Q naught V naught, and the other equation. For V naught, you can substitute Q over here. So yeah, Q naught squared over 2C naught. Hope you all can remember, but you don't have to use all three equations to compare. You can use maybe one of this. Maybe the first one is easier because the squared part is not there. Therefore, let's go with the first one. Okay, right. I don't think I missed anything. These are the quantities written. Fine. Okay. Now, what are they doing? Read it carefully. Then the battery is removed and the space between the plate of the capacitor is filled with a material of dielectric constant. Now the battery is removed after that. Two things are happening. One, battery removed, and two, battery removed, and two is filled with dielectric constant, filled with dielectric substance, filled with dielectric substance, dielectric substance. I just put DES, dielectric substance. So what happens there is, people, now the circuit is, what do you call that? The circuit is incomplete because the battery is removed. So the capacitor will look like this now. And you have filled it with that material as well. In between the plates, the material is filled now. So that K is there now, new K. It's filled with that material. And now let's analyze the new quantities. So what are the quantities we have? New charge, there will be a new charge Q, and there will be a new capacitance C, the new electric field intensity, and new energy. And there will be a new potential difference like this. The battery is removed, battery is removed. But some of them might be equal to the earlier one. Some of them might be equal to the earlier one. So we are going to analyze that. Charge will not change. Why is that? Because now we have charged the capacitor and we have removed the capacitor from the battery. Therefore, the circuit is incomplete. If you want to change the charges have to flow in the circuit. Then only the charge can change. Because charge can't just suddenly appear and disappear. They need to flow in a circuit. They need to flow in a circuit. Okay. So once you disconnect the capacitor from the circuit, there is no way the charges can flow. Therefore, charge will remain constant. Okay, that is one thing you have to understand. Because what's the reason? Because circuit is incomplete for the flow of electrons. Right? Okay. How about C then? Now new C. The new C will be K epsilon naught AD. It's not epsilon naught AD because now we have filled it with a dielectric substance, so it's K epsilon naught AD over D. Epsilon naught AD, that is something you already know, that is C naught, isn't it? So it is equal to C is equal to KC naught. Hope you can understand that, because A epsilon naught over D is C naught. Done. Then you can go back to voltage. What is the equation for voltage now, people? You can write an equation like this now. Q equals CV using this equation. Charge is Q, capacitance is C, voltage is V. Right. Now, how can I alter this equation? Q is Q naught, okay. New C is KC naught, okay. And voltage is V. Voltage is V. And then you can write a new equation for voltage, and that will be given by V equals Q naught over Kc naught. Q naught over Kc naught. And from this equation, you can write V naught is equal to what? Q naught over C naught. V naught is equal to Q naught over C naught. Therefore, Q naught over C naught is a V naught. So you can say finally V is equal to V naught divided by K. Hope you all understood that. Okay. First, I said charge can't change because there's no way charge can flow. Done. And then I wrote the new equation for the new capacitance. So there is an additional K. So new capacitance is Kc naught. And then I went to charge equation to find out the new voltage. And that turns out to be previous voltage divided by K. V naught over K. Right. And then electric field intensity. What is the equation for electric field intensity? E equals new voltage divided by D. We do not change the distance between the plates. So V divided by D. What is the new V? That is V naught over K. That is the new V, right? V naught over K into 1 over D. So the final answer is V naught over KD. And if you want, you can still write it like this, V naught over KD. If you want, you can write it like this. Now, E naught, we have written an equation. No? E naught is V naught over D. Therefore, that can be written as E naught over K. E naught over K. All right, fine. So that also done. So we are comparing 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quantities. We have compared 4 quantities. And now the fifth quantity is the energy stored. I'll use this equation. That way it will be convenient for me, this equation. So what is U, the new U, energy stored? That is going to be half QV, half into new charge into new voltage, right? Half into, what is the new charge? It is still Q naught, into, what is the new voltage, guys? New voltage is V naught divided by K, equal to what? Equal to where? Yes, so that is going to be 1 over K into half 1 over K into half Q naught V naught. So that is going to be U naught divided by K. U naught divided by, because half Q naught V naught is U naught initial. Right. And there's a question, sir, after removing the battery, will we have a potential difference? Yes, of course, a capacitor, you can have a potential difference as long as the capacitor is charged. If the capacitor is charged, then there can be a voltage. And if you take this capacitor and connect it across a bulb now, this capacitor, the bulb will glow for some time. until it releases the charges. So it's like a battery now. This is like a temporary battery. Okay, right. Fine. So I know it is a bit messy, but let's compare the before and after, right? Before and after. Now you can't, I don't really recommend you to buy hard disk because it depends on cases. So for this particular case, before Q naught here, and here it was C naught, here then V naught, and then E naught, and then U naught. These were the quantities, and the after the new charge was Q naught itself, no change, and the new capacitance was Kc naught, and the new voltage is V naught divided by K, and the new electric field intensity is E naught divided by K, and the new energy stored in the capacitor is U naught over K. Right. I have no. I am not answering this question. I'm analyzing everything in case if they ask the other quantities as well. But in the question, they are focusing mainly on electric field intensity and energy stored. So, what should be the answer, people, for this question? What should be the answer? What should be the answer? New electric field intensity. That should be V naught over Kd, isn't it? V naught over Kd. V naught over Kd, and the new energy stored is going to be U naught over K. New energy stored is going to be U naught over K. Therefore, the correct answer will be, yeah, second one. The next similar question comes from 1992, A-level 1992. You can see the way they have compared things. The previous one, we analyzed the whole thing, but here in this one, they are really asking about everything. So it's just a comparison of magnitude, but you need, anyway, you have to go for the equations and then compare, right? Fine. A parallel plate capacitor is connected to a battery. A dielectric slab is then inserted to fill the gap between the plates of the capacitor while the battery remained connected. In the previous example, battery was removed. This time, the battery is not removed. So, I will draw the systems. For my benefit, I'll draw the capacitor a little wider, right? Okay, like this. Okay, so let's say the battery has a voltage of V naught. Therefore, across this capacitor, the voltage will be V naught, and the charge Q naught, and then capacitance C naught, and electric field intensity E naught, and energy stored U naught. And now, without removing the battery, they are inserting a dielectric slab or dielectric material. Now the new voltage, battery is not changed. Battery is not changed. The new voltage, they are saying it's V, charge is Q, capacitance C. They have not compared capacitance. Let's compare capacitance also for future reference. Electric field intensity E and the new energy stored in the capacitor is U. But remember, there is a dielectric substance introduced between the plates of the capacitor, K. Right. So it's going to be the same old thing we are going to do very quickly. Right. Q naught equals C naught V naught. C naught equals A epsilon naught over D. U naught equals half Q naught V naught, because this is the easier method. And E naught, the electric field intensity, is voltage divided by distance between the plates. Distance between plate is given as, it's not given. We'll take it as D. And let's assume that it doesn't change because they have not mentioned that it's changing. So it's D, here also it's D. These are the four equations, four comparisons we're going to do. Right. Now, in the earlier example, charge was same because once you remove the battery, the circuit becomes incomplete. The charge from the capacitor can't flow. But now the battery is intact. Therefore, the voltage will not change because now the battery will control the voltage, right? As long as you have connected the capacitor across the battery. Now, when the capacitor is fully charged, there is no current in the circuit. People, if there is no current in the circuit, remember whatever the voltage battery has, the voltage will be across the capacitor. Okay. Now, once you learn electricity a little deeper, you will understand what I just said. If let's say you have a battery, 10 volt, and you have put it across a resistor, just a resistor, nothing else. Sometimes the voltage across the resistor might not be exactly 10, might be slightly less than that, because the battery itself might have a resistance inside, which is called internal resistance. But We don't have to worry about the internal resistance if there is no current through the battery. Okay, we all know when a capacitor is fully charged, there will be no current through the battery. So the voltage across the capacitor will be V naught. Okay, now I said something extra. Don't think too much about it. You will understand it once we study electricity. Now, for the time being, we can finalize one thing, that is the voltage is not going to change. It's same because the same battery. Let's move on to the other parts. Q, Q can be written as before that, let's go to capacitance. It's the obvious one. New capacitance is A K epsilon naught divided by D. I can't substitute just epsilon naught because there is a dielectric substance. A epsilon naught over D is C naught, so it is Kc naught this time, just like before, Kc naught. And then let's go to this equation, Q equals Cv, Q equals Cv. Therefore, Kc naught into V is V naught. Here, V didn't change, V naught. So it is actually Kc naught V naught. We know C naught V naught is Q naught. So it is Kq naught. All right. And then energy, U. The new energy is half QV, that is equal to half Q naught has changed into KQ naught, and voltage hasn't changed, V naught. So that is K into half Q naught V naught. So the final answer is KU naught. Right. And finally, electric field intensity, E. Now, new electric field intensity is V over D. V did not change. It's still V naught. So therefore, it is also V naught over D, and that is equal to what people E naught once again. Okay, because V naught didn't change. And then just like before, let's quickly do a comparison before after comparison. Right. And then I'm going to do the comparison. After that comparison here. Before charge was Q naught. Now new charge is Q is equal to KQ naught. That means Q is bigger than Q naught. Why? Because K is a number greater than 1. We have studied that. K is always a number greater than 1. So Q is KQ naught. Therefore, Q has to be greater than Q naught. And then initial capacitance is C naught. New capacitance is C new equal to KC naught. Therefore, they are also it's greater. No, they also it's greater. But voltage it is equal. Voltage it is equal. And how about the energy stored? U naught, and the new energy stored is U equal KU naught. Therefore, yes, again U is bigger than U naught. And finally, E naught, here E is equal to E naught. No change there. Okay, so by the looks of it, which one is the answer, people? Answer should be the third one, isn't it? Answer should be the third one. Why? Q is greater than Q naught. So the first two are wrong because Q is equal to Q naught according to those answers. That's incorrect. Fourth is also incorrect because now based on this, and we can cut this, and based on this, we can cut this. So you have increased the probability to 50%. And this is okay, this is okay. Because of this is wrong. So the answer is third one. You can do the same comparison for the previous question also, based on depending on the value of K. If you divide something by K, now for example, I think last in the previous case, it was E equals E naught divided by K. In such situations, E will be less than E naught, because we are dividing E naught by a number greater than 1. Okay, so you have to carefully do that comparison. But for this case, this is how the comparison goes. The next question is from ALL 2020, not really a question on the capacitance, but one of the latest questions about capacitance. So let's see what this is all about. Identical small spherical droplets of mercury are charged so that each droplet has the same electric potential of 0.01 volts. If 1 million such droplets are combined to form a large spherical drop, what will be the electric potential of the large drop? Okay. Right. Interesting. Now, before this, we'll start then. Identical small spherical droplets of mercury are charged so that each droplet has the same electric potential of 0.01 volt. So there is a small droplet. Let's take the radius of that as simple r. Okay. And likewise, they have how many droplets? They are going to mix. Mix or combine. How many droplets? They are saying 1 million droplets. 1 million droplets, so 10 to the power 6 droplets. And using them, they are going to create a huge single drop. Huge single drop like this. So the new drop now, it will have a new radius, capital R. Have new radius, capital R. Right, something like that. Okay. Now we know when you have a charged spherical sphere, when you have a charged sphere, on the surface of that sphere, there will be an electric potential. Okay, on the surface of the sphere, there will be an electric potential that will take it as V naught. And here there will be an electric potential, we'll take it as V. Now, on each of these small droplets, there should be a charge, simple Q, simple Q, simple Q likewise, there will be charge. And what will be the charge on the larger droplet then? It will be 10 to the power 6 Q. Because the charges can't disappear. Charges can't disappear. When you combine all those things, all those charges will get together and they will be stored in the new sphere. Okay, right. So let me write an equation for you. V naught, we have studied. Now for V naught, I'll write an equation. V naught can be written as simple Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. So what did I write? How did I write this? This is the equation for the electric potential on a sphere. This is the equation for electric potential on a sphere. Okay. And here V is going to be equal to 10 to the power 6 Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught capital R. Okay, right. The total charge and the new radius. And remember, V naught is actually how much? V naught is 0.001. 0.01 actually. V naught is equal to 0.01 volt. So I will not, I'll substitute that last. So what I have to do is I need to get a relationship between V and V naught. So when you divide these two equations, this is number 1, this is number 2. Let's divide them. Second one divided by first one will give us V over V naught equal to, on the right hand side, what do we have, people? On the right hand side, what do we have? 10 to the power 6 over capital R will be remaining, and here 1 over simple R will be remaining. So I'll be getting 10 to the power 6 simple R over capital R. 10 to the power 6 simple R over capital R. 10 to the power 6 simple R over capital R. Now we need to find the relationship between simple R over capital R, and you have your answer because V is equal to 10 to the power 6 V naught into simple R over capital R. You know the value of V naught. You know the value of V naught. All you need to do is you need to find a relationship between simple R and capital R. Right. For that, if you want to compare radius, this radius with this radius, what do you need to do? The volume must be compared. The volume must be compared. So, total initial volume. What is the total initial volume? That is going to be volume of each sphere, each small sphere, that is 4 by 3 pi r cube into how many droplets were there? 10 to the power 6. That is the total initial volume. Hope you can agree with me. This is the volume of one small sphere and the number of spheres. And then what is the total final volume, people? Total final volume, that is equal to how much? The volume of this sphere, that is 4 by 3 pi capital R cube. Simple as that. Okay, right. So I can say the total final volume 4 by 3 pi R cube. The total final volume must be equal to the total initial volume, because nothing, volume won't reduce. Volume won't reduce. There's no way volume can reduce, because water doesn't just disappear like that. When you mix them, volume doesn't change. So 4 by 3 pi r q for 4 by 3 pi can be cancelled out, and that will give you R, capital R. If not, we need simple R over capital R, no people. So that is R cube over simple R cube over capital R cube is 1 over 10 to the power 6. If you take cubic root on either side, you will be getting 1 over 10 to the power 2 equal simple R over capital R. That is the value for simple R or capital. Now this will come in handy in other questions also. When two spheres you combine to form a single sphere, not two. It can be two or more spheres. When you combine them to form a new sphere, this is how you find the relationship between the radii, yeah? The combined radius and the single radius, right? This. Therefore, I am almost there. V will be equal to 10 to the power 6 into V naught is 0.01 into simple R over capital R is 1 over 10 to the power 2. And V will be equal to, this is 10 to the power minus 2. This 2 also comes up, becomes another 10 to the power minus 2, altogether 10 to the power 6 into 10 to the power minus 2 into 10 to the power minus 2. Therefore, final answer is 100 volt. Final answer is 100 volt, and the answer is fourth one. The next question from 2020 is again not about capacitors, but thought of discussing that since it's one of the latest questions. An infinitely long thin straight wire which is located on the z-axis has a linear charge density of minus lambda. Okay, minus lambda. A small positive charge plus q of mass m is allowed to move in the xy plane in a circular path of radius r above the wire. The periodic time of the charge is given by. Now, they're talking about axes. So let me first of all draw the axes for our reference. Right, let me quickly do that. That way, I think this will be more convincing for us. So I'll take this as y-axis, the vertical axis as y-axis, and the horizontal axis as x-axis. Okay, right. So this is on the screen. Z-axis is this. I mean, the axis which is going into the plane. I hope you can understand. This is the z-axis. Okay, people. This is the axis which is going into the plane. Okay, right. So these are the axes. Y and x are on the screen. Z-axis is going into the screen or coming out of the screen. And the thin straight wire that is kept along the z-axis. I will draw the thin straight wire. It's infinitely long as well. So how do you mark an infinitely long wire? This is how you do it. You draw it and then you draw some broken lines to indicate that it continues to go like this along the z-axis. Okay, right. And it has a charge density of minus lambda. It has a charge density of minus lambda. And then the other part, what are they saying? Then they are saying there is a charge which is allowed to perform a circular motion, which is allowed to move along a circular path like this. So you have to understand one thing. This is that circular path I have drawn, all right? So if you take this circle, this which one? The maroon color line I have drawn, the charged wire. The charged wire, maroon color line is a charged wire. That charged wire is going through the center of the circle. Charged wire. Okay, people. The charged wire is going through the center of the circle, and the radius of the wire, I think radius of the circular path, it is r. Radius of the circular path is r. They have given that r. Right, that's the radius of the circular path. And what is the charge moving along the radius? Plus q charge is moving along the radius. So let me mark that. There is a plus q charge. And what is the question we have to find out? Periodic time. Periodic time. So if there's a plus q charge moving along a circular path, the periodic time is, what is the meaning of periodic time? What is the meaning of periodic time? Now, how will it rotate? Yeah, okay, it can rotate anyway. Doesn't matter. The direction doesn't matter. It can rotate anyway. How will it rotate, people? I mean, no, sorry. What is periodic time? Periodic time means time taken for one complete rotation. Time taken for one complete rotation. Okay, right. Time taken for one complete rotation. That means you can give it. Give it in this equation in terms of this equation. That is t equals 2 pi divided by omega. 2 pi divided by omega. That is the equation. So your target must be finding omega. In all the answers, you can see pi is there. You can be all the answers. I mean, what they have done is you can write it like this also. No? Square root of 4 pi squared over omega squared. You can write like that also, no, people? You can write like this also. That's why you have pi squared in answers, in the answers. Pi squared in the answers. So probably one of these will be the answer. I don't know. Omega squared, we don't know what is omega squared, right? Now we have to find omega squared. What is the plan to find omega squared? An object is performing circular motion. An object is performing circular motion. When the object performs circular motion, you know there must be a centripetal force. There must be a centripetal force acting on the object. And what is the centripetal force acting on the object here, people? That is the electrostatic force. Electrostatic force. That is the centripetal force. And we have learned in our previous lessons, electric field lessons, if there is a charge like this, sorry, if there's a charged infinitely long wire like this, around that wire at a distance of simple r, we have derived the equation for the electric field intensity. Hope you all can remember that. So I'm just drawing a circle to indicate that from the wire at distance r, okay, from the wire at distance r, from the wire at distance simple r. What is the equation for electric field intensity? Let's see who can remember. This is r. This is r, and the charge density is lambda. Minus lambda means it is negatively charged. Then only it will get attracted towards it. Then only it can perform a circular motion. That's why it's minus. So let's disregard that minus. Let's only focus on the value lambda. What is electric field intensity at this point? Electric field intensity given by lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught r. This is the equation, na people? Can you remember this? It's better if you can remember this. If you can't remember, what you have to do? You have to go to that equation. E is equal to Q over A epsilon naught. Now, what is Q here? What is Q here? Q is you have to draw a circle. You have to draw a Gaussian surface, and the Gaussian surface is going to be a cylinder here. So, for Q, we put lambda L. Hope you can understand what is this. Lambda is the charge per unit length. When you multiply that by length, you will get the charge. Divided by, for area, what we have to put the surface area of the cylinder, and that was 2 pi r L into epsilon naught. So what happened here? L and L gets cancelled off, and E is equal to lambda over 2 pi r epsilon naught. Fine? Okay, right. So that is the equation for E, electric field intensity along this circle. Okay, right. So I'll write an equation, see if you can understand. Centripetal force acting on the object is equal to mr omega squared. We need omega squared, or omega rather. Centripetal force is the electrostatic force, Fe, equal to mr omega squared. No need to change r or m. Everything is given, same letters. Now for electrostatic force, what is the equation? Electrostatic force is charge into electric field intensity, QE, equal to mr omega square. Q is there in the question, M is there in the question, R is there in the question. We need to find omega square. But E is something we should have found separately, and that we have found. That is this. So for E, I will substitute that value. That is lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught R equals to mr omega squared. Okay. So I will find out omega squared, because in all the answers there is a square root. In all the answers there is a square root. So I should divide 4 pi squared by omega squared. Let me find out 1 over omega squared. So 1 over omega squared, what am I doing here? I am taking omega squared down. So I need to take this part up, this part down. Then what will I be getting on the right hand side? Carefully say, tell me, 2 pi epsilon naught mr squared. Okay, what's happening? M and R, I'm not changing. 2 pi epsilon naught R goes up. So 2 pi epsilon naught M, R into R square. Divided by Q into lambda will come down. Q into lambda will come down. Okay, right. Then we have our answer. This is the value for 1 over omega squared, and then I'll substitute that here. T is equal to square root of, okay people, 4 pi squared, right, that is there already, 1 over omega squared. Instead of 1 over omega squared, let's substitute this whole thing, that is 2 pi epsilon naught mr squared divided by q lambda. So what is the value for T? Which answer do you think is correct?
8 pi squared
8
r squared.
pi cube. 8 pi cube, isn't it? Pi squared into pi cube. R squared is there, R squared. M epsilon naught divided by, instead of q lambda, they have given lambda cube. What is the answer? First one. Beautiful, isn't it? So it's a weird question, but it's weirdly beautiful as well, in my opinion, because I love maths. I don't know. It's up to you guys. So not impossible. It's just you need to analyze this and do it. 40th question. So there is an element of risk, time consumption, and everything you have to take into account. You try this. If you feel like it's going to take a lot of time, what do? You skip it and go to the other question. Okay, that's what you need to do. But just follow the thinking pattern I was explaining, the planning and execution. That way I think you can do it. But this, now you, if you remember this, it will save time. If not, you have to derive that and like want to put duck. Yeah, fine. So anyways, answer is first. Right, the next question is from year 1991, 29th. A spherical droplet of mercury of radius r has a capacitance. Capacitance means how much charge it can store for 1 volt. That is what capacitance is, no? Right? So if you take a sphere, this is this equation. If you can remember it, it will save your time a lot. If you take a sphere, now let's say it's charged. It has to be charged, no, to compare the capacitance. Capacitance, because the definition for capacitance is charge stored per unit voltage. That is the capacitance. So it's charged. Let's say it's positively charged, plus q charge is on the surface, and if there, it is charged, it will have a voltage as well, V. And what is the equation for this voltage? We have learned, if the radius is r, voltage will be given by q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r. That is the equation for the voltage on the sphere, on a charged sphere. We have learned this before. Then I need q over v. So if I can make q over v the subject, so 4 pi epsilon naught r goes up equal to q over v. So ultimately you will end up in this equation. Q over v is our capacitance, and that is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught capital R, whereas r is the radius. R is the radius, and this is the equation for the capacitance of a sphere of radius r. 4 pi epsilon naught r. Okay, so the answer for this question is going to be first one. If you can remember the equation, then you can quickly get the answer without much of a struggle. Right? So try to remember this equation. Next question is from year 1999, and that's a 36th question we are going to discuss next. Two spherical conductors with radii R1 and R2 are separated by a very large distance and connected by a thin conducting wire. Right. Two spherical conductors, aren't they? Yeah, two spherical conductors like this. Two spherical conductors, they are connected by a thin wire, and they have different radii. We don't know which one is bigger, but I'm just drawing. And they are separated by a large distance, and they are connected by a wire like this. Let's take the radius of this as R1, and let's take the radius of this as R2. Right. If epsilon naught is the permeability of free space, the capacitance of the system. Okay, the capacitance of the system. Right. First thing you have to understand is, when you connect two what do you call that, spheres by a conducting wire, we know the voltage or potential, not voltage, sorry, electric potential will be equal. If it is V1 and if it is V2 here, V1 is going to be equal to V2. Why? Because connected by a wire. Connected by a wire. Right. They are talking about the system. So what you need to do is, you need to connect that to something else by two more wires like this. Okay, right. So if they are connected by a wire, and if they have same potential, equal potential, that means these two capacitors, you can take this as a capacitor, this is C1, and you can take this as a capacitor, C2. Since they are connected by a wire and their potentials are equal, these two should be considered to be in parallel. these two should be considered to be in parallel like this, C1 and C2, because when they are parallel only, their potentials are equal, correct? Right. So that's number one. That's number one. So if you make a mistake there, then you are in trouble, because both the answers are there. It's either first or second. The answer is going to be first or second. One of the answers is correct if you go for a series connection. One of the answers is correct if you go for a parallel connection. But here you have to consider them parallel, because when you connect them by a thin wire, the potential is same. Therefore, they are considered to be parallel, right? So when there are two capacitors which are parallel, the equivalent capacitance is given by C equivalence will be given by what? C1 plus C2. And what is C1? C1 is 4 pi epsilon naught R1. We just studied the definition for the capacitance of a spherical conductor. Plus C2 is 4 pi epsilon naught R2. And then what do you do? You have taken 4 pi epsilon naught out. Therefore, you will be getting R1 plus R2. Therefore, the answer for this question is going to be the first one. The next question about under capacitance of spherical drops comes from 2008, 29th question. Let's see. A spherical liquid drop has an electrical capacitance of C1, and another spherical drop made of the same liquid has a capacitance of C2. So when you say the same liquid, you can assume that the permittivity is same. If these two liquids coalesce to form one spherical drop, that means it becomes a one drop, spherical drop, a large spherical drop. The capacitance C of the drop is given by. Right. So there are two liquid drops, one, another liquid drop, two, and then they are combining to form a larger liquid drop, three. So we need to find out the capacitance of the new liquid now. Let's take this one has a radius of R1. It's not given. We'll get rid of that. Don't worry. R2 here. And the new radius here is R, capital R. And the capacitance of this is C1. Capacitance of this is C2. And the new capacitance is C. We need to find C in terms of C1 and C2. Okay. All right. Capacitance, not anything else. Capacitance. So let's write the equation for capacitance. So what is the common equation for capacitance of a sphere? That is given by C equals 4 pi epsilon naught R. That is the common equation for capacitance of a sphere. So C1 can be written as 4 pi epsilon naught R1. Instead of 4 pi epsilon naught, I'll use K. So C1 is equal to K R1. So what is C2 then? C2 is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R2. Therefore, you can say C2 is equal to KR2. Similarly, C, that is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. Instead of 4 pi epsilon naught, again I'll substitute K. So KR. So this is the equation. So for C, there I have only one equation, that is KR. If I can substitute R, if I can find a value for R in terms of R1 and R2, that way I can introduce C1 and C2 to this, and then I can get the final answer. Right. Now, what is the other comparison we have to do? I have to find a relationship between R, R1 and R2. For that, we can find compare the volumes. So let's say the volume of this one is V1. Volume of this one is V2, because two spherical drops are combining, and volume of this one, let's take it as V. We know volume of these two added will be equal to the final volume. Right. So volume, what's V1? 4 by 3 pi R1 cube plus, what is the volume of this one? 4 by 3 pi R2 cube. And what is the final volume? 4 by 3 pi R cube. R1 cube, R2 cube, R3 cube. So we can cancel out 4 by 3 pi, 4 by 3 pi, 4 by 3 pi. And you will be getting R1 cube plus R2 cube, that is equal to R cube. We don't have R cube here, we have R. So I'll say R is equal to cubic root of this R1 cube plus R2 cube cubic root. Okay, let's get back to the equation, main equation. C is equal to KR. C is equal to K times, instead of R, what can I do, people? R1 cube plus R2 cube to the power 1/3. And C equal K within bracket. What is R1 cube now? R1 cube can be written here from this equation. You can write R1 cube like this, no? R1, actually, R1 is equal to C1 over K. And what is R2 here from here? R2 is equal to C2 over K. So let's substitute that here. R1 cube is C1 over K cube, C1 cube over K cube plus C2 cube over K cube. That is this 1/3, right? And then you can say K inside here we have K cube, here C1 cube plus C2 cube to the power 1/3. K cube to the power 1/3 is also K, correct? K cube to the power 1/3 is also K. So this K and that K will get cancelled off, and finally C will be equal to C1 cube plus C2 cube to the power 1/3. It is not equal to C1 plus C2. You can't do that. Huh? That's completely wrong. That's completely wrong. So the answer must be the third one. Answer must be the third one. You can't do this. It's completely wrong. Huh? You can't do this. Now, for example, these are some mistakes kids do. A squared plus B squared square root. You can't write it as A plus B. That is completely wrong. You can't do that. It's wrong. No, it's wrong. Because A plus B whole thing squared's root is only A plus B. But this can't be written like that. Similarly, A cube plus B cube's cubic root cannot be written as A plus B. That is incorrect, because that answer is also there. Which one? First one. So that's wrong. You have to leave it like this. Okay, right. So answer is third. Next question is from 2012, and it's the 48th question from that year. So they have given a system like this. A fuel gauge in a vehicle uses a parallel plate capacitor made of two rectangular metal plates to determine the height of the fuel level in the tank. Each of the metal plates has a width W and length L. You can see width W and length L. The height of the fuel level between plates is H. You can see H. Appropriate electronic circuitry E determines the effective capacitance of the combined air and fuel capacitors. So there are two capacitors here, because there is fuel and there is air. The effective capacitance of the system is given by K is the dielectric constant of the fuel. Now this is a 3D structure. If you draw it in 2D structure, then it's like there are two plates, parallel plates like this, and yeah, two parallel plates like this, and across this plate and this plate we are supposed to find the capacitance. And you can see you can see liquid is filled up to a certain height H like this. So you should be able to notice that there are two capacitors actually. One is here, this one is filled with that dielectric substance K, and upper part is air. So yeah, I'll put a K here to emphasize that it is a dielectric substance. And then we know to find the equivalent capacitance, we need some information. What are the information we need? The distance between the plates is D, it's fixed, no problem with that. And the area is important, because the common equation for capacitance is A epsilon naught divided by D. Okay, right. Area. What is this area then? There is one area here, A1, and then there is another area here, A2. Okay, this area will be this one. A1, I'll highlight here. A1 is this. See if you can understand. This is A1. This area is A1. Okay, I have drawn the side wave. And this area, the area I'm drawing in green color, this area, this is A2. Okay, so if you look closely at the diagram, A1 is, what is A1, people? A1 is going to be, I will write like this, A1 is equal to, if this is H and if this is L, the whole length, this height is L minus H. So A1 is height multiplied by breadth. Breadth is W, A1. And A2 is the green color area. What is that? H is the height and W is the breadth. So that is HW, A2. Okay, D is common, and here we have K and this thing. Okay, fine. So this can be considered equivalent to, the system can be considered equivalent to two capacitors in parallel, one and the other one. Whereas one of them is filled with a dielectric substance. One of them is filled with a dielectric substance like this. So I'll take this capacitor as C1 and this capacitor as C2. And finally, ultimately, the equivalent capacitance, people, will be given by, equivalent capacitance, it has to be given by C1 plus C2. Why two capacitors added? They must be added because they are in parallel, C1 plus C2. So your target has to be finding C1 and C2 separately, and then you add them, get the answer. Simple as that. Right, that's good. Go back to this equation. What is the common equation? C equals A epsilon naught divided by D. Now, what is C1? C1 is equal to A1 epsilon naught over D. And what is A1? We have already found it. L minus H into W epsilon naught over D. That is C1. And what about C2? C2 is going to be A2 K epsilon naught, careful, over D. Careful, huh? You can't put epsilon naught because this is AR. But here there is full. So different material. Therefore, for epsilon naught, it's K epsilon naught. A2 we already found it, that is HW K epsilon naught divided by T. Okay, right, then let's wrap it up. C equivalent is equal to C1 plus C2, as we have found out. C1 is this L minus H into W epsilon naught divided by D, plus C2 is this HW K epsilon naught divided by D. Okay, so I think you can take W epsilon naught over D out, because W epsilon naught over D is common. W epsilon naught over D within bracket, what do we have here? L minus H plus, what do we have here? HW. And K, I forgot K as, no, HK, sorry, HK. W we have taken out, no, we go HK. Do we have an answer like that? We don't have. So these things are wrong. I can cancel out these things. The 2 doesn't come no, anywhere. 2, there's a 2 here. It's wrong. This is too small, wrong. So it's either 1 or 2. In 1 or 2, yeah, it's first one, no, people. This 1 minus H and all, we don't have. Do we have it? At the bottom, 1 plus, we don't have a fraction like this. So definitely this is the answer. And how have they got it? They have taken H common between these two. H common between these two. So W epsilon naught divided by D within bracket, that L is there. This is L. L is there. Okay. L plus from HK minus H, they have taken H common. So within bracket, you'll get K minus 1. So that's why the answer is first. Okay. So no need to panic. If you get a question like that, then take this as one capacitor, take this as one capacitor, and get the equivalent capacitance. That's how it works. Right. Next question is about a variable parallel plate capacitor and how the capacitance of that varies. Right. Fine. So let's see. And there are graphs. So we need to get an equation, or you need to get a relationship between capacitance and time to get an idea. Now there are some graphs which are curved. There are some graphs which are straight lines, and there are some graphs where there is a gap, and all those things. What to consider? Let's see. A variable plate, parallel plate capacitor is made of two identical semicircular metal plates that can be rotated about the common axis, passing through the centers of each plate and perpendicular to them, as shown in the figure. If one plate rotates with constant angular speed omega relative to the other, that means you can assume that one plate is at rest, the other plate is rotating at omega. The variation of capacitance of the capacitor with time t is best represented by. Okay, right. So the bottom capacitor is fixed. Let's say it has omega 0, and the other capacitor is rotating. And they're asking how is the capacitance going to change. Again, we have learned capacitance depends on three things. One is A epsilon naught divided by D. Now this A is the area between the two plates. In this system, epsilon naught is constant. D is also constant. D is the distance between the plates. They are not changing that. So the area is changing. How is the area changing? That's what we are going to discuss now. Okay. So I will be using red color for the upper plate. Okay. Red color for the upper plate. and blue color for the bottom plate. This is the bottom plate. Fine. Now, first of all, consider a situation like this. Now you look at the plates from top. You can think of a situation like this. Wait. You can think of a situation like this, where both the plates are, I mean, the upper plate is completely out of the inner plate. Upper plate is completely out of, that means they are going to look like this. From top, when you see from top, the red color plate is going to be like this. This is the red color plate. Okay, this is the red color plate. You can see from top like this. Hope you can understand this, huh? Right. And then the blue color plate is out like this. So I mean, red color plate is completely out. Red color plate is completely out. So now in a situation like this, what is area? Area between the plates, it is zero. There's no area between the plates. Okay, because they are not sandwiching the medium between them. Hope you can understand. Now who is rotating? The upper one is rotating, red one is rotating the people. Now the red one is going to rotate. After a while, red one is going to rotate like this. I'll take this as time equal to 0. So here area is 0. There is no area between the plates. There's no area between the plates. Therefore, capacitance should be 0 here. Capacitance should be 0. But after a while, this is going to happen. Now see if you can understand what is going to happen next. So I will draw a circle for my reference first of all. Right, ready, the circle is ready. After a while, the red plate is going to rotate, therefore its position is going to change to a new position like this. Hope you, can you agree with me on that? Like this. And how about the blue plate, people? The blue plate will be like this. This is the blue plate. Okay. Now red plate has rotated into the blue plate. Wait, something is wrong. Like this. Red plate has rotated a bit inside like this. Okay. Right. So if you see from top, let's draw the plates. This part is the red plate. Okay, wait, this part is the red plate. Okay, all right. And the other one is this area is for the blue plate. So there is a region where blue and blue and red are intersecting. That is this particular region. Here, this region. If you look closely, this region. Okay, hope you can agree with me on that. This particular region is intersecting. So now there is a common area between the plates. You slightly rotate it in. There's a common area between the plates now. Now because of that area, there is going to be a capacitance created. Now let's focus on that area. Now that area is actually, what do you call that? It is a sector, isn't it? It's a sector. It's a sector. So let's focus on that. I'll take this angle as theta, people. Angle as theta. That angle is going to change. Now angle is going to change as it rotates. No, it's rotating at constant omega. Remember that. Constant angular speed omega. It's rotating at omega. So let me mark that as well. Omega is constant, and theta is now this. And what is the area of this part, people? What is the equation for the area of a sector? Area is equal to, let's take the radius as capital R. Area of a sector, I hope you can remember from O level, it's given by half theta r square. That is the area of a sector. Half theta r square. Okay, half theta r square. That is the area. Okay, fine. And instead of theta, now theta can we write another equation? What is the equation for theta? So A is equal to, but theta is equal to omega into time. Can you agree with me on that? Omega into time. Correct? Theta is equal to omega into time. Why? Constant angular speed. Therefore, I can say theta is equal to omega t. Therefore, if I substitute the value, now area A, it's equal to half omega t into r square. Half into omega t into r square. So if I write that equation once again, that is A is equal to omega r squared over 2 into t. Omega r squared over 2 into t. Right. Now, what can I say about this part, people? What can I say about this whole thing? That is constant, isn't it? This part is constant. Why is it constant? Omega is constant given in the question. R is the radius of this disk. That doesn't change. It's constant. Therefore, A will increase linearly with time. Area means area covered by the disk, the intersecting area. It will be, it will increase linearly with time. That's what I'm trying to say. It won't increase non-linearly with time. It will increase linearly with time. And little while ago, we just figured out the equation, this one. So if I if I expand this equation, right, never mind, C equal, instead of A, I'll substitute this value. That is, how much is that? Omega r squared t over 2 into epsilon naught over d, people. Okay, omega r squared, right? Then look at the equation. C is equal to omega r squared epsilon naught over 2d into t. All this part is a constant. Therefore, C has to increase linearly with time. It can't be increasing non-linearly with time because this part is a constant. None of this is a variable because d is the distance between the plates, constant. Omega constant, angular speed. Radius constant. Everything is constant. Epsilon naught is also constant. Therefore, you can say C is proportional to time. That means, in other words, C will increase or decrease linearly with time because area is going to decrease also. Okay, so based on that, these graphs are definitely wrong. Non-linear graphs are wrong. Then, if you are supposed to choose between 2 and 5, what do you think is the best answer between 2 and 5, people? What do you think is the best answer between 2 and 5? So, if you continue to analyze situations, different situations, if you continue to analyze different situations, the positions of the disks will be like this. I will draw a few options and see if you can understand. After this, these are the changes we can expect in the system. I will draw a few examples and then I think you can agree with me on that, right? Right, okay. Now let me draw the positions of the red disk. Now first it will keep rotating and at one point it will come to this point. At one point it will come to this. It will be half like this, no? Right. And after a while it will look like this, the disk. And after a while it will be completely like this, completely on top of blue disk, like this. And then again it will start doing this, and once again it will come back to this. Correct? Okay, so let me quickly mark the areas covered by, okay, this is the red disk. Now red disk covers this area, and now the red disk covers this area. Now the red disk covers this area. Now the red disk covers this area. We are seeing from the top. This circle is a circular path, and the blue disk, it doesn't change, it doesn't rotate. So blue disk will remain like this. This is the edge of the blue disk. Okay, right, and here the blue disk and the red disk are in the same line, and then here like this. So what is happening to the area, people? What is happening to the area? Now here the common area we were highlighting in black, no? So this is the common area for this. See, the common area keeps increasing, no? Initially the common area is smaller, then the common area keeps increasing, the highlighting part. Common area keeps increasing, and here this whole thing is the common area. Okay, so if I take this time as t equal to 0, which time? This time as t equal to 0, right? And I'll take this time as t equal to capital T by 2. That means half of the rotation, half rotation. And then after that, what will happen? Look at the area. It keeps reducing once again. No? Common area here. This is the common area. Common area reduces. And then again, the red disk will return to its initial position when time is equal to capital T is period of rotation. When time is equal to capital T, red will return to its initial situation like this. Okay, so again capacitance will be 0. So capacitance from 0 should increase. Here the capacitance will be maximum. Why? Because area intersected by both the capacitors is maximum. Therefore capacitance will be maximum here, 0 here. Again it's 0. So 0, maximum 0. Increase, decrease, increase, decrease, increase, decrease. We have to go for a graph like that. But the graph has to be a straight line. I have explained that here. Why is it a straight line? Because area is directly proportional to time. Therefore, people, the answer for this question has to be fifth. Okay. And next one is from 2016. So they have given us a network of capacitors, and then they have given us a Gaussian surface, and they're asking something. So let's see what this question is all about. A network consisting of 5 identical parallel plate capacitors of capacitance C each is connected to a cell of voltage V, shown in the figure. Assume that the capacitor plates are in free space, that means epsilon naught. The net electric flux through the enclosed surface is net electric flux. They're talking about Gauss theorem. So net electric flux is given by the equation Q over epsilon naught Q. What is Q? Net enclosed charge. Net enclosed charge. So we need to find out how much of charge we will have inside this system. Okay, right. Now, if you take this capacitor system, forget about the battery and everything, we know this capacitor is not going to work. This capacitor is definitely not going to work. Why is that? Wheatstone bridge. So, if the why doesn't this capacitor work? Because the potential difference across the capacitance is going to be 0. Therefore, charge is going to be 0. There won't be charge. There will be charge, but plus and minus equal. Therefore, total charge is 0. Won't be any charge here. Okay, right. This doesn't work. And how about these capacitors then? How about these capacitors? Now, we know if this battery is V, I can take this potential as V, and I can take this as 0. Therefore, again, this is 0. This is 0, then this is 0, and this is, sorry, this is V. This is 0, and this is V. Right? And this doesn't work. Therefore, this system and this system are parallel. Therefore, we have total potential drop of V across these two, and another potential drop of V across these two as well. So across each capacitor, people, the potential drop is going to be V by 2, V by 2. Hope you can understand this. Here also, it's going to be V by 2, V by 2. The potential drop. Because all the capacitors are equal in magnitude, now people. So V by 2, V by 2, V by 2, V by 2. In case if this was C2C, C2C, then it will be different. But yet everything is equal now, right? If the capacitance and the voltage drop both are equal, who will be equal? The charge stored will also be equal. The charge stored will also be equal. So here on the left plate, if you have plus Q charge, on the right plate we will have minus Q charge. On this right plate also we will have plus Q charge. On the left plate minus Q charge. Here plus Q charge, minus Q charge, plus Q, minus Q. Everything will have equal charge. Okay, everything will have equal charge. But remember, on this plate, the charge will be 0. Why? Charge is equal to CV. If V is equal to 0, charge is also equal to 0. All right, fine. Now let's talk about the Gaussian surface. Look at the Gaussian surface carefully. I will highlight certain plates. Only those plates are included in that Gaussian surface. So what are those plates? Let me highlight them very quickly. That would be this plate, this plate, this plate, and this plate. Hope you all can agree with me on that. Only these 3 plates are included in that Gaussian surface. Okay, now tell me people, what is the total enclosed charge in S? What is the total enclosed charge? Hurry up. What is going to be the total enclosed charge inside that within that Gaussian surface? What is the total enclosed charge within that Gaussian surface? It will be yes, very good. It will be 0. We have a minus Q, we have a plus Q, and we have a 0. When you add everything, it will be 0. Minus Q, plus Q, there's nothing here. So add everything, 0. If the total net enclosed charge is 0, so what is the electric flux? That also should be 0, because there is no net charge enclosed within that. Under Gaussian surface, we have done millions of questions. So the answer for this question is 5th. Bit anticlimactic, I know, but can't help. If they had changed the surface a bit, maybe if they had put it here, they have put it here, let's say, then what will happen? Plus q and minus q will get cancelled off. There will be a q, a net charge of q. Okay, so sometimes they might change the surfaces accordingly. You have to adjust your, net. Accordingly, the net total enclosed charge will change. But in this case, the net enclosed charge is 0. It should be logically explained like this. You can't just say 0. The explanation is this. It might not be 0 if you change the surface. Okay, well, right. So it's a collection of Wheatstone bridge, how capacitors are getting charged, and Gaussian theorem, Gauss theorem. All three combined here.